Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we have some very big updates regarding the Emiru and Mizkif situation. It appears that some new parties have been dragged into this situation, and the results of this are going to be, at the very least, chaotic, and I also know probably very entertaining, and it's going to provide a lot of content for me and many others over the coming months, if not years. So before we get into the new stuff, quick recap of events. So the popular streamer Emiru recently came out with a stream and an accompanying YouTube video where she made some very serious allegations against the streamer Mizkif, accusing him of essay, of attempting to blackmail her, harassments, even in some cases driving 150 miles an hour down the highway with her stuck in the passenger seat because he wanted to end his life because he didn't get a Mr. Beast collaboration, a bunch of really serious stuff. And Mizkif shortly after would make a stream responding where he, ironically enough, as you'll see in just a second with today's updates, pretty much confirms the vast majority of the things she said. But his response was, number one, you didn't feed your bunnies well. And number two, she threw plushies at me. Yes, that was his real defense to everything. Sometimes she would throw plushies at him. Yeah, not great. But of course, this is something that was a part of his going nuclear. Because apparently at TwitchCon, he talked to someone on Emiru's team and he said he's going to drop some nukes on her and go nuclear if she does anything publicly involving this situation. And apparently, that involves a lawsuit now that she's actually made the statements. You can see he's changed his bio on Twitter. He removed all of his major sponsors, and he says, still owner now in lawsuits. So this is actually something that Emiru predicted in her video, where she talked about the allegations against Mizkif.
And I also wanted to say that I would not be surprised if he tries to sue me for the stream that I did today and for coming out about him. Not because he thinks that he would win, but for PR reasons, like a slap lawsuit. It'd be interesting if that happened, and I wouldn't be opposed to people finding out more of the truth and things that I didn't even talk about today, and what else he's been lying about. And I'm sure there's also plenty of things that even I don't know about.
Yeah, this was very predictable. I think a guy like Mizkif and his history of behavior, this was going to be his response, even if it's going to destroy him in the process. He wants to control the narrative, and his ego's been wounded, and he's going to respond accordingly. Also, this is going to be very, very funny for us and very, very embarrassing for him, most likely. Okay, this guy has a history, a well-known reputation in the streaming scene for being an unhinged maniac who says some crazy things both publicly and especially in private. And if this does go to trial, Discovery is going to expose all of the relevant communications between Emiru and Mizkif. And I invite that. And Emiru seems to invite that because she seems like she has nothing to hide. She invites this going to trial so she can expose him even further. But let's not stop with the communications between Emiru and Mizkif. Let's add some new parties. Yup. This lawsuit isn't just at Emiru. He also included Asmongold, OTK, Mythic Talent, and King Gaming Labs. Yup, he has gone fully nuclear, I guess. He I guess wasn't wrong when he said that. He didn't drop the nukes he promised, but he did drop this lawsuit where he's suing these individuals. And man, very bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for him, because this is going to be very interesting. Imagine the amount of communications. Now we're adding in communications with Asmongold potentially in Discovery, but now also on an organizational level, which could expand into reaches you can't even imagine. So we're going to get some really spicy communications if this does go to trial and there is a Discovery process that happens. And let's just check in on the comments, the initial reactions to this. So with an Amber Heard picture, in quotes, "Your Honor, but the plushies," amazing. You're going to be seeing this a lot, this meme right here, over the coming months. "Your Honor, she threw plushies at me." So true. That is a valid defense. Well, that's one way to fight being canceled, Your Honor, but the plushies. Mizkif is going to get cooked in Discovery. Absolutely. Bro realizes Asmongold could literally bankrupt him. There's no way he has more cash than the Roach King, which is a point that Tectone would raise as a fellow former OTK member. He says anyone saying Mizkif will sue Asmongold and Emiru and win because Mizkif has more money. First off, doesn't get how the legal system works. And even if it did work that way, one party made millions and burned all of it on expensive cars, steroids, and hair transplants, by his own admission, by the way, Mizkif's. The other party has spent less than 1% of what he made on gummy worms and beef jerky. Which party do you think has more money left? Yeah, very true. Asmongold has been getting roasted. He rage baited everyone again on Twitter recently, where he shared his diet, where it consists of nothing but gummy worms and beef jerky and like sweets. And people, of course, are literally like tearing their hair out who, look for any reason to be mad about him. But yeah, I think Asmongold's pockets run pretty deep at this point. And I would imagine Emiru as well. She seems like also someone who doesn't spend their money frivolously. So, but let's hear a comment from Legal Mindset, who of course is a actual attorney. He says, Mizkif is going to lose this lawsuit so hilariously. I will need to supersize my popcorn for this one. He has opened himself up to complete reputational destruction while suffering the pain of discovery and legal fees. Been traveling, but will review on my next stream, which I and many others will be looking forward to. So, what is going on here is an act of control. I believe that. I think this guy is such a narcissist and he loves controlling the narrative so much that Mizkif will literally tank his reputation further and blow all of his money and even risk losing all of this just to get back at someone who wronged him and someone who's making him look bad publicly. And I want to share this clip. I made a mistake when I first covered this situation a couple days ago because I forgot to include one clip that I thought was fascinating that shows the level of control this guy desires.
I know I wasn't perfect with my language or tone throughout this entire relationship. I know I wasn't. And I was aggressive at times. In regards to being controlling, I told her many things. I told her to dress older, to stop wearing pajamas, to stop talking about stalkers and schizos as a whole, stop talking about past relationships, and yes, I didn't want her to travel without me. I also said that I didn't want her to hang out with specific people. This is because I didn't want her to get hurt. I didn't want Emmy to get assaulted. I didn't want some man to do something to her when I'm not there, and I wanted to keep her safe. And I know with how my mental was and who I was back then that I didn't do everything right. I know I could have done better, and I'm sorry.
Wow. In that, we got the clothing of consent. That's a new one to add to the list, right, guys? And also, he's sitting there like, you're going to wear those pajamas on stream, you harlots? Like, this guy, like I said, he definitely has an ego issue. He wants to control everything. And there's some really good points being raised by a lot of people. Here's some of the relevant explanations of why he's doing this. So, Mizkif is seeking damages for reputational harm, lost earnings, and emotional distress. The exact amount of money has not been disclosed. So you can see what he's alleging here, that Asmongold repeatedly called Mizkif an aggressor and abuser during his own live streams, amplifying the accusation to millions of viewers. And then Mizkif claims these statements are false and have caused significant harm to his reputation and career. Shortly after the livestream, OTK Media, co-founded by Mizkif, sent him a termination letter citing the nature of the Emiru allegations and announced it was reclaiming more than 1 million shares of company stock without compensation. The complaint asserts that no contractual breaches occurred. Mythic Talent and King Gaming Labs also claimed breaches and demanded Mizkif owed more than 600 clams to Mythic Talent for management fees. Boy, oh boy. These are some interesting allegations, especially since it's leaning all about reputational harm, which is implying that what he's saying or what's been said about him in the allegations is not true. But of course, he went live on stream within the day the allegations were made, and he pretty much admitted to, I'd say, almost 90% of the things she said. That's not great. In fact, The only thing he could really do in response was say that she didn't feed her bunnies enough, and even implied Emiru was responsible for ending the life of one of these bunnies, which, again, they lived in the same place, so if he was really that worried, why didn't he intervene in any sort of a meaningful way? But if anything, the person defaming people might be him. And also, like, what are you going to do, man? You going to throw a Kirby at her? Like, this right here is a great meme. Throwing that lawsuit 150 miles an hour right at Emiru, and also Asmongold, OTK, and other parties as well. But let's get back here. Like, what's going on? Like, why these people, who also seem like really dangerous targets for Mizkif, why is he doing this? Well, let's look at the parties involved. Beginning with Emiru, I think this is the most obvious one. And again, she predicted this would happen when she made the allegations. So it's not too surprising. And I think a lot of this has to do with, again, the control narrative, and also the fact that she obviously made the allegations. And of course, in the court of law, it doesn't matter what the public thinks. If you have a better argument than your opponent, you win. But, you know, this, if this is a sign of anything, right, a video with nearly 2 million views, and it has 103,000 likes versus 1K dislikes, and understand that Mizkif's community is known for brigading anything negative about him. Like, it is a fact. Everyone knows this. And that was the best they could do. They took it down to a 99% like to dislike ratio. I'm just saying, right now it appears that hearing what we've heard so far, people have made up their mind. Pretty much. And, you know, this whole thing also stems from stuff like this. I don't know if you guys have seen this little side-by-side clip comparison, but Mizkif and Emiru went live at the same time, and he got distraught because her viewer count got higher than him live while they were at, streaming at the same time. And he had a breakdown on stream, starts instantly turning toxic the second she passed him in viewers, and eventually went into her room, threw a hissy fit, and slammed the door behind him, and she literally, like, flinched. Like, it was a very... Also, I'll add, right around that time, she said she had to go to the bathroom. A lot of people think she was going out to talk to him or something. It was just a very weird thing, and, it kind of fuels why he's dragging this out. Like, he was acting like this when they were in a relationship, and people were choosing her over him. What about now? Not great. So, let's talk about the other party. Of course, Asmongold, and, used to have a connection with OTK. So, why him? Well, I think it's because Asmongold has been very hard on Mizkif ever since these allegations came out. In fact, right from the jump, he offered to pay the legal expenses of anyone who wanted to come out and share their story about him.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody has any of that shit that's happened, I mean, they can always contact me, and, I can set them up with legal counsel, and I can pay for it. It's not really a big deal. If they want to come out and they're worried about, like, getting sued or something like that, it's not a big deal to me at all. And so, like, yeah, if that's a thing, but I just don't know. I mean, if Aria knows something, I mean, she just let me know. But, like, that's it. She's saying, like, people that got abused or whatever, they didn't have social media or whatever. That's the reason why. Has anyone reached out yet? If they had, I wouldn't have told you. So, yeah, it's just like, because it would be a very private thing, assuming that somebody would have reached out. And so I wouldn't say that or do anything, because I think also it makes it about me at that point. And so, like, yeah, I would never talk about that for any reason.
Another thing I haven't covered since my previous video about the situation, Mizkif in his offline chat on Twitch was sharing a bunch of messages, and to sum up this big wall of text, he starts making excuses for his behavior, basically saying that he's been contemplating taking his own life since like 2022, and that since he's lived in LA, he's been doing like a bunch of drugs and steroids and all these things that have messed with his mind and his body, and he's had all these issues, and it's only made things worse. And he's been hurting himself in the process, and he has these insane anger issues from the steroids, and yada yada yada. And Asmongold, like many other people, see the timing of this, and it appears that to Asmongold and other people that he's trying to use this as bait to get empathy. And he's saying some very serious things and basically saying, I'm not responsible. Take pity on me. And basically, how could you be mad at me? I have all these issues.
It's kind of like Kevin Spacey got outed for being like a bad actor, which actually turned out to not be true, by the way. Seemingly, Kevin Spacey is a fine guy, or at least like not a criminal. But immediately said, oh, I'm gay now, right? Or something like that, right? In order to like to do this is like really, you talk about, oh, well, I want to kill myself. Well, what about all the people that you negatively affected? Have you ever thought that maybe they wanted to kill themselves? Maybe you ever think about like maybe how that would affect them? No, you don't. You don't think about them because it's all about you. It's all about you. And that's it. No, I never have any, like, whenever a person goes and they do something that negatively affects another person, then my sympathy for that person goes down to 0. Sympathy baiting, yeah. Never let somebody sympathy bait you. People like this are manipulative. They are conniving, manipulative, abusive people that will use your own emotions against you so they can get you while you least expect it. Never do it.
So another party in all of this is OTK, who officially cut ties with Mizkif after the allegations came out, but it appears that they're already kind of like falling out of a relationship already. Like it wasn't really active at that point anyways. But yeah, they came out with a statement immediately saying they support Emiru and they stand by her side. And while Mizkif was one of the founding members of OTK, they have terminated their relationship and they are going to just keep moving forward. And of course, the other parties involved with this is Mythic Talent and King Gaming Labs, which is going to be another interesting dynamic. Like I said, especially if this gets into Discovery, adding in entire organizations with some very popular streamers as well, it's gonna be a wild ride. That's for absolute sure. But for now, that's gonna do it for this video. If there's more updates, I'll be talking about it. But anyways, leave your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.